So, deep down in every single company using AI right now, there's this one simple question. And you'd be surprised how many leaders get, well, pretty uncomfortable when you ask them to answer it.
Okay, let's paint a picture. An AI system in your company messes up. It gets something wrong. And this isn't some small error buried in a report. No, this mistake drives a real-world business decision. Someone's loan gets denied. A great candidate gets tossed out of the hiring pool. A whole supply chain gets sent down the wrong path.
So, who's on the hook? And I don't mean who calls the IT help desk or which tech vendor gets an angry email. I mean who, in your leadership team, is actually accountable for the fallout from that decision. The honest answer? Most leaders, they don't have a clean answer for that, at all.
And that right there, that's what we call the AI accountability gap. It's this dangerous space that's opened up between rolling out these super powerful AI systems and actually building the human leadership structures you need to govern them. And let me tell you, closing this gap, it's becoming one of the most critical jobs in business today.
So why does this gap even exist? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Most companies are managing their AI risk in completely the wrong department. We've basically been diagnosing the problem incorrectly, and that mistake is creating some serious and often totally hidden risks for the C-suite.
This really lays out the whole misunderstanding, doesn't it? The old way of thinking, which is still everywhere, is that AI risk is a tech problem. Something for the IT team to handle. But the new reality, the one we all have to face, is that AI risk is an accountability problem. And that means its real home is in the leadership structure, the C-suite and the boardroom.
Look, let's be super clear here. The tech controls, the firewalls, the data checks, they're all important. Of course they are. But they're solving the problem at the wrong level. Accountability isn't code. It doesn't live in a server rack. It lives in the human leadership team that made the call to roll out that technology in the first place. Think about it this way. When an AI-powered decision goes south, the investigation isn't just going to stop at the algorithm. Nope. It's going to trace its way all the way back up the chain of command to the human decisions that set the stage for that failure. Who are we talking about? The exec who signed off on the project, the manager who designed the oversight process or lack thereof, the board that gave the thumbs up to the whole AI strategy. These are the real points of accountability.
Okay, so how do we actually fix this mess? Well, closing that accountability gap really comes down to making 3 huge shifts in how leaders think about AI.
All right, shift number 1. We have to completely erase this imaginary line we've drawn between AI decisions and human decisions. Because guess what? In the eyes of the law, the regulators, and your customers, that line doesn't exist. It's a fantasy. If an AI system makes a move, the organization made that move, period. And the buck stops with the leadership who put that system in place.
And this is maybe the most important takeaway here. It is not enough to just nod your head and agree with this idea in a meeting. If you haven't built the actual structures, I'm talking defined roles, clear escalation paths, real reporting up to the board, then you don't have governance. What you have is exposure, pure and simple.
Okay, on to shift number 2. And this one tackles a huge and, frankly, very expensive myth about AI. A lot of people think that all this governance stuff, it just slows you down, right? But that's not really the full story. The thing that actually grinds progress to a halt is governance uncertainty.
Because it's the solid governance infrastructure that gets rid of that uncertainty. Think about it. If every single new AI project kicks off a brand new, painful debate about who owns the risk, who's in charge, and who oversees it, that's what's slow. But a clear, established system where you already know who's accountable and what the process is, that's what lets you move fast and scale with confidence.
And that brings us to the third and final shift, which is basically waking up to the fact that none of this is optional anymore. I mean, just look at how fast things are changing. Back in 2022, having the board look at AI oversight was just a best practice. Fast forward to 2026, when things like the EU AI Act are in full swing, it's going to be a straight-up legal obligation.
The message from regulators all over the world is crystal clear. Whether you're looking at the EU AI Act or the NIST AI framework here in the States, they want to see demonstrable human accountability. You have to be able to prove it at the top level of governance. Just pointing to some security controls in your tech stack, that's not going to cut it anymore. Okay, so let's bring this down to earth. How can you figure out where your organization stands, like right now? I'm going to give you a super simple but really powerful 4-question audit. You can take this back and apply it to your most critical AI systems the minute we're done here. So here are the 4 questions. Question 1, The decision. Is the exact business decision this AI helps with written down somewhere formally? 2. Accountability. Can you point to a specific person, by name, in your leadership team who is on the hook for the results, good and bad? 3. Oversight. Is there a real, functioning way to escalate a problem if something goes wrong? And 4. Review. Has this whole setup been reviewed and signed off on by your legal team, your risk team, and critically, your board?
And hey, be brutally honest with yourselves here. If the answers to any of those questions are fuzzy, or if you have to say, I think it's so-and-so, then you have real, live accountability gaps in your production systems right now. This isn't some future what-if scenario. It's a problem you have today.
You see, at the end of the day, leading in the era of AI isn't going to be about who has the flashiest models or the most pilot projects. The real winners, the real leaders, will be the organizations that build these rock-solid accountability structures that make AI something you can actually govern, scale, and, most importantly, trust.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to take back to your team. Right now, is your approach to AI governance a blocker, something that just creates friction and uncertainty? Or could it be the very thing, the infrastructure, that becomes your biggest accelerator?